Welcome to our deep dive today. We're going to be exploring something fascinating. And let's be honest, a little bit icky. Black soldier fly farming. But trust me, once you get past the initial, ooh, there's a whole world of potential here.
Yeah, it's definitely a field that's buzzing right now, both literally and figuratively.
Okay, hun, game strong. But seriously though, we're aiming to give you a solid foundation in black soldier fly farming today. From the insect's life cycle to the business opportunities. Think of this as a primer. For a much bigger series we're doing here at the Insect Farm Hub, we're calling it a deep dive. But really it's more like diving into the shallow end of the insect farming pool. There's a whole ocean of knowledge out there, and we're just dipping our toes in for now.
That's a good way to put it. Today we're laying the groundwork, getting familiar with the basics so you can decide if you want to take the plunge into deeper waters later on.
Exactly. So let's start with the star of the show, the black soldier fly. What makes these little guys so special?
Well, it all starts with their life cycle. They go through these 5 stages: egg, larva, pre-pupa, pupa, and adult. But it's the larval stage that's really got everyone's attention. They're like tiny little waste disposal units, munching through all sorts of organic material and packing on a serious amount of protein in the process.
So it's kind of like that caterpillar to butterfly transformation. Except instead of a beautiful butterfly, we get, well, a fly.
Right, but a fly with a purpose. And here's the cool part. Adult black soldier flies are actually pretty harmless. Unlike those pesky houseflies, they don't bite, spread disease, or even eat. Their sole focus is reproduction, and then they gracefully exit stage left.
So no buzzing around your picnic basket trying to steal your potato salad.
Not these guys. They've got bigger things to do, like creating an army of waste-eating larvae.
Yeah.
And just to add to their coolness factor, did you know adult black soldier flies have translucent wings? It's a detail that always sticks with me.
I have to admit, that's pretty cool. But back to the larvae. These eating machines, what exactly is on their menu?
Pretty much anything organic. We're talking food waste, agricultural byproducts, even manure. They're not picky eaters, which is a huge part of their appeal.
So they're like the ultimate compost bin, but way more efficient. I read somewhere that they can reduce waste volume by up to 70%.
That's right. But it's important to remember that that figure can vary, depending on what they're being fed and the conditions they're living in. Achieving consistent results is one of the key challenges in black soldier fly farming.
Makes sense. There are always variables when you're working with living creatures.
Yeah.
But even if it's not always a perfect 70%, that's still a significant reduction in waste. And it's not just about reducing waste, is it? We're turning that waste into something valuable.
Exactly. Think about it. Instead of ending up in a landfill, your food scraps could be transformed into high-quality animal feed or even fertilizer. That's the power of the black soldier fly.
Speaking of fertilizer, what about that stuff they leave behind? Frass, right?
Frass. It's not the most glamorous word, but it's basically insect poop, and it's actually a fantastic fertilizer. Not only is it packed with nutrients, but some studies even suggest it can suppress plant diseases, making it even more valuable than your average compost.
Whoa. So it's like supercharged compost. That's pretty impressive. I'm starting to see why people are so excited about these little bugs.
It's easy to get caught up in the potential. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's talk about the business side of things. Because while these flies are amazing, turning that amazement into a successful business takes careful planning and execution.
Okay, so let's say I'm intrigued. I want to jump on this black soldier fly bandwagon. What's my first step? Do I just order a bucket of larvae online and hope for the best?
Not quite. There's a little more to it than that. First, you have to ask yourself, what's your goal? Are you looking to process the larvae into animal feed fertilizer? Something else entirely.
Good point. I guess knowing your end product would dictate a lot of your choices.
Right. Absolutely. And then there's the question of scale. Are you thinking small scale, maybe supplementing your own livestock feed or selling to local farmers? Or are you dreaming big, envisioning a large-scale operation supplying a wider market?
I'm not sure I'm ready to quit my day job just yet. So let's start small. Let's say I want to produce enough larvae to supplement feed for a small backyard chicken flock. What would that look like?
In that case, you could start with a fairly simple setup. A basic rearing container, a source of substrate, maybe your kitchen scraps and some yard waste, and a way to control temperature and humidity.
So kind of like a superpowered compost bin, but with flies instead of worms.
You could think of it that way.
Yeah.
There are plenty of DIY resources available online, and you can even find pre-made rearing kits designed for small-scale operations.
Okay, that sounds manageable. But what if I want to take things to the next level, maybe start selling to local farmers? What kind of investment am I looking at?
That's where you start moving into more specialized equipment and infrastructure. You might need larger rearing containers, automated feeding systems, and possibly even climate-controlled facilities to ensure consistent production year-round.
I imagine the climate control part could get pretty expensive depending on where you live.
It definitely can. That's why it's so important to carefully consider your location. If you're in a climate that's naturally suitable for black soldier flies, warm and humid, you might be able to get away with less sophisticated systems. But if you're dealing with extreme temperatures or fluctuations, climate control becomes a critical factor.
Makes sense. So you were saying location is key. What else do I need to consider before diving into the business side of things?
Well, there's a question of regulations. Depending on where you are, there may be specific rules governing insect farming, especially when it comes to processing and selling the larvae or their byproducts.
Ah, the dreaded red tape. I guess that's where doing your research really pays off.
It definitely does. And speaking of research, you mentioned earlier that this is just the tip of the iceberg. If our listeners want to really dive deep into the world of black soldier fly farming, where should they go?
Well, that's where the Insect Farm Hub comes in. We've got a whole series dedicated to insect farming, and we'll be exploring black soldier flies in much more depth in those episodes. We'll cover everything from choosing the right equipment to navigating regulations, marketing your products, and even the ethical considerations of insect farming.
It's a fantastic resource for anyone who's serious about getting into this industry. We've compiled information from leading experts, real-world farmers, and even entrepreneurs who are using black soldier flies to create innovative new products.
Exactly. So if you're feeling inspired by what you've heard today, head over to the Insect Farm Hub and keep the exploration going. You might just find yourself on the cutting edge of a sustainable revolution.
It's an exciting time to be involved in this field. And who knows, maybe one day we'll all be enjoying black soldier fly burgers or protein bars.
Okay, now you're just messing with me.
Yeah.
But seriously, I think it's amazing how much potential these little creatures have. They're not just a solution for waste management. They're a source of food fertilizer and even new business opportunities.
It's a perfect example of circular economy in action. We're taking something that's traditionally considered waste and transforming it into a valuable resource.
And it's not just about the practical benefits. There's something really inspiring about the idea of using nature's own solutions to tackle some of our biggest challenges.
It's about working with nature, not against it. And I think that's a message that resonates with a lot of people.
It definitely does. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today, from the basics of black soldier fly biology to the business side of things. But before we wrap up this introductory dive, there's one more question I have to ask. We talked about feeding animals with black soldier fly larvae. But what about us humans? Can we ever see these critters on our dinner plates?
It's a question that comes up often, and it's understandable. There's definitely a yuck factor to overcome for a lot of people. But in many parts of the world, insects are already a common part of the diet. They're a source of protein and nutrients just like any other animal.
So you're saying we might be seeing black soldier fly burgers on the menu someday?
It's not out of the realm of possibility. There are already companies developing insect-based food products for human consumption, and the market is growing. It might take some time for Western cultures to fully embrace the idea, but I think we'll see insect protein becoming more mainstream in the years to come.
Well, I'm not sure I'm ready to swap my beef burger for a bug burger just yet, but I'm open to trying new things. And who knows, maybe it's just a matter of getting used to the idea.
Exactly. It's all about changing perspectives and realizing that what might seem strange to us is perfectly normal in other parts of the world.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah.
We've gone from the ick factor to the inspiring potential of these tiny creatures. Any final thoughts before we wrap up this deep dive?
Just this black soldier fly farming is more than just a trend. It's a solution with the potential to transform our relationship with waste food production and even the way we think about protein. And whether you're a farmer, an entrepreneur, or just someone who cares about sustainability, it's a field worth exploring.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling inspired by what you've heard today, remember, this is just a taste of what's out there. To really dive deep into the world of black soldier flies and insect farming in general, head over to the Insect Farm Hub. There you'll find a wealth of resources, articles, training courses, even a business case calculator to help you explore the possibilities.
It's a fantastic resource for anyone who wants to learn more and maybe even become part of this growing movement.
Exactly. So go check it out, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next insect farming innovator. And that's a wrap for our deep dive into black soldier fly farming. Thanks for joining us.